For more On Campus, we say hello to the two-time Super Bowl champ and host of the All Things Covered podcast, our guy Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, let's begin with the biggest upset of the day. Iowa fresh off their biggest program win in decades, and they lay an egg against Purdue. How much does a letdown of this nature tell you about where Iowa really belongs in the AP poll?
Well, before today's loss, I had my concerns regarding Iowa, specifically speaking on the offensive end. Peaches has been an up and down quarterback. He's a guy that's not going to beat you with his arms. But one thing he has been able to do has been playing smart football and just managing the offense. Ideally for them, their defense has been able to lead the way and put in their offense in positions to be successful. They didn't get their best effort from their defense. And because of that, Peaches was asked to do more than what we've seen in past weeks. And he wasn't able to do that. And looking at Purdue, if I didn't know any better, Joe, I thought Purdue barred the Hawkeyes secondary the way they were intercepting passes and their defense is putting pressure on the opposing quarterback and getting sacked. So this was a huge letdown. Clearly, in my opinion, their playoff hopes, they're down the drain. They needed to be undefeated just to be able to get into that playoff conversation. I don't think that's going to happen now with that loss. And it was a good year. They still have a lot to play for. Still can get to the Big Ten championship game. But I don't think a one-loss Iowa team, Hawkeye team, will get into the playoffs, even if they won the Big Ten title.
Yeah, Big Ten title would make things interesting. We'd have to have the conversation, but you make a great point just about the name brand there in Iowa football and what it was going to take for them to get to the playoff in terms of some of the other teams out there, non-Power Fives. We're looking at you, Cincinnati. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Team sport, so we go game first. But if there was a headline individually here, a performance on Saturday, that belonged to Oklahoma true freshman quarterback Caleb Williams. 18 of 23, 295 through the air, 5 total touchdowns, 66 yards on the ground. B-Mac, a gamer, a baller, a stud. Say it how you want. This young man has a look in his eye. Seeing what you saw out of Williams, does it change your greater opinion of OU as a team?
No question. Clearly on the offensive side. He seems to be a natural in throwing the football. He seems to be a natural in making plays happen with his arm or his legs. And this offense has really taken a few steps further than what we've seen based on Williams being in the lineup. Now, I still have my reservations regarding their defense. Their defense that will give up some plays, they will give up some points. But when you have that type of offense backing you, that's okay. You know what I mean? You just need to be able to make timely plays. So think about this, Joe. This was his first start, and you just reeled off some video game-like numbers. I anticipate Caleb getting better week by week. And hopefully by the time they get towards the end of the season and competing for a Big 12 championship game, he might be playing some of his best football, which would be huge for their team, especially trying to get into the playoffs. So yes, this team is a better team with Caleb in the lineup. I still have my concerns, but in their conference in the Big 12, their defense is optionable. But I can tell you one thing, when you can score points, that's okay with the Sooners.
You know what they say, B-Mac, if you score 100, you can give up 99. We're not too far off here when it comes to Boomer Sooner. Their biggest remaining roadblock for Oklahoma, that is, for a Big 12 title, is Oklahoma State. They're going to meet in the final week of the regular season. The Pokes, they take care of Texas on Saturday. How real of a problem are they right now to the Sooners' larger plan?
I really like Oklahoma State. I wasn't super surprised to see them taking care of their business against Texas because they've been doing this over the last few years, especially in Austin. I think the last 6 visits there in Austin, they're 5-1. So they just been taking care of their business. Matter of fact, that was a good betting nugget. Hopefully you guys was able to cash in on that bet because they've had some real good games against Texas and Austin. But I really like their ability to be balanced on the offensive side. Warren is an electrifying running back. He can definitely do damage in between the tackles and outside as well. Defensively, we saw them pick off a few passes today. They fought from behind. They kind of got off to a slow start. They were able to weather the storm, come through in the clutch in huge turnovers, big-time turnovers that provided much needed momentum for them. This is a tricky ball club to look out for, especially looking at what Oklahoma has been able to do. It's safe to say it's almost like it's a 2-team race in the Big 12. I know you got Baylor there as well, but I think Oklahoma State probably will be the stiffest competitor when you look at what the Sooners have going down the line the rest of the way.
Yeah, we won't see that one until late November, but it's going to be a good time, and that we know. We got to show some love to the top team in the nation, Georgia, putting another one in the win column. They improved to 7-0 on the season. Another stingy defensive performance for the Dogs. Stetson Bennett looked more than serviceable under center. B-Mac, where do you want to see this Georgia team tighten things up if they are going to be the last man standing at the end of the season?
I mean, that's a tough question, Joe. You hit me with, where do I need to see improvement from Georgia? I I'll just have to say quarterback play. Can Stetson Bennett sustain this level of production? Can he sustain this level of consistency? They run the football well. They block well. Defensively, they do everything hot. They're on fire defensively. I mean, maybe special team-wise, kicking field goals here or there, but it's all about the quarterback. I think that would be the one thing that could hamper this team from getting to the ultimate goal and winning the ultimate goal, which is a championship, is the quarterback play. So far, Stetson Bennett has exceeded the expectations. He's played better than what I thought he could play. Now, eventually, Joe, JT Daniels will be healthy. Now, what do you do if you're Kirby Smart? Do you stay with the hot guy who's had a hot arm and the offense clearly has been, establishing a rhythm with him? Or do you go back with the guy who's supposed to be the starting quarterback in JT Daniels? I mean, that's a good situation to have when you talk about depth at the quarterback position, but it also will be a big-time question that needs to be answered in the coming weeks when he gets healthy. But right now, there's not a lot you really can pick about this team outside of the quarterback play. Can that guy, whoever it is, sustain the level of production that they need to be able to get to the championship ball game?
Yeah, Bennett taking a step in the right direction here on Saturday, but you make a great point about that decision, when it will come, and what it's going to look like for that Georgia offense moving forward. I need to see a couple more statements. I mean, 30-13 is great, 30-7 if we don't count that last touchdown, but you put the right quarterback out there, you're going to see 50 with that defense giving you the ball back in due time. So we'll see how Georgia continues to round into form. You're not going to like him when he's angry. And I'm talking about Old St. Nick, Alabama, coming off their first loss in quite a minute here, bouncing back with a drubbing of Mississippi State. They looked refocused. They look sharp. They look complete, B-Mac. The numbers are going to be what the numbers are going to be, but are we looking at a more dangerous version of Bama today than we saw in weeks past?
Sometimes you need to allow that sleeping dragon to sleep. You don't want to wake the dragon up and then fire comes out of the dragon's mouth and then, of course, the whole city is on fire. That's what it feels like right now. Texas A&M basically just woke a sleeping dragon. That dragon was up, and unfortunately, guess what? The little city that they needed to go into was Mississippi State, and they just took care of their business. The thing I love about this game for Bama, a much-needed win, no question. They need to go out and win with style points as well. But Bryce Young was very, very efficient. The red zone woes that we saw last week, they were not there tonight. And defensively, it wasn't just about getting turnovers. They were able to put points on the scoreboard. And Mr. Robinson neighborhood, Brian Robinson continues to just improve, not just as a runner, but catching the football out of the backfield as well. So what we saw tonight was a complete team effort, complementary football on both sides of the field. And if they continue to do this, look out. You already know they're in that conversation when it comes to playoff competition, competing for the playoffs. But it's not just going to be playoff competition, but you better believe they're trying to get right back in that conversation when you talk about hoisting that trophy at the end of the season. And they have everything that you would like a team to have that will be able to get to that level.
That's our guy, Bryant McFadden, and he's always spitting hot fire. Thank you, B-Mac. And don't forget, there's only one place to be this football season. That's with our guys on the All Things Covered podcast. B-Mac, P2, sit down with some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment for can't-miss conversations each and every week. Download and subscribe. All Things Covered.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.